Welcome back to Investathon 2025. I am now joined by a phenomenal Black woman who is standing in the gap, defending this country, and leading us in a crazy time right now. And I'm so thankful that she's here to join us this evening. I appreciate her. Everybody welcome Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to Investathon. What's up?
It's good to see you.
How are you? You good?
I don't know anyone who is sane and good in this current time, but thank you for asking. As we are speaking, obviously the shutdown is in full throated mode. And so things are about to get really, really difficult for so many federal workers. Not that things haven't been difficult. So just a lot of stress, trying to work for your constituents while also trying to make sure that you're taking care of the good people that take care of your constituents every single day. So just a lot going on.
Well, from me to you, I want to say thank you for your leadership and your service. You're doing a phenomenal job. Whatever you need from me and us, always feel free to reach out. But thank you, for what you're doing. We had an opportunity to speak some months back, and the conversation about ownership in social media came up. And it's funny how drastically things have changed in just a short time. Share your thoughts on like this new right-wing takeover of all media and kind of what that means, especially for the Black community getting their messaging out.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, when you and I talked about the fact that we are already behind. So we feel like, hey, we in the game now because we didn't got on social media, right? And it's like, by the time we jumped on social media, they decided, you know what? We don't want to just be on social media. We want to own the platforms. And that way we can dictate how you get your information, which information you get, as well as decide that we will make it okay for lies to come through. And typically they come through at a higher and more rapid rate than the truth. The truth always seemingly gets suppressed. And so it is important not only that we get to the point that we believe in ownership, and not just for social media. This is for everything, right? Like businesses, like we need to own them. So we're not over there begging somebody to have a spot at their place. That's essentially what we are doing right now. If somebody shuts you down or decides that they're going to depress your content, that may impact whether or not you can even earn money through your business, because so many of our businesses are using these social media platforms, or whether or not, just like they're trying to make it to where our Black stories can't be told, we don't know whether or not people will ever know our Black present stories, let alone our past, right? Yeah. Let alone our history. So as we know, we've seen all of these random lynchings that they have said here recently of Black men, that they have claimed these Black men climbed trees just to hang themselves and that they were suicide. But because we were able to get those stories out, we were able to organize, we were able to get stories that maybe mainstream media does not want to cover. We were able to get our stories out, and we are starting to get some of the truth out as well. So we just don't want to be put into a vulnerable situation to where our stories won't get told, to where our truths, to where our images, our real images, are not going to be on full display because they only want to display this caricature of who they think we are versus the reality of who we are.
Well, what do you think? What's the responsibility to support alternative platforms now that we're in this arms race for access to distribute information? I actually built, Fanbase for the reason to just also have a place where our truth, our version, we could reach each other, communicate with each other as a people, as Black people, as a community, as people that don't have this ideology that exists on the other side. What's the responsibility of us to support platforms like Fanbase and other platforms that get the messaging out that aren't contaminated?
Yeah, I think that we've always figured out a way to have our own space. No matter what it was, we have always been the culture curators, right? And so people follow our lead and follow our trend. And so I do think it's important that we are very intentional in this moment, especially as They are trying to delete who we are. They are trying to delete our real life stories, that we say, you know what? We are not going to allow you to have that much power over us. So we've got to be very intentional in all ways, whether we're talking about the virtual world or whether we're talking about the real world. Being very thoughtful about how and where we spend our money and our energy and our time. We've seen that with the boycott of Target, right? Like, it is very important. We saw what happened when people got riled up about Jimmy Kimmel, right?
Yeah.
They brought Disney to their knees. So this is not only an opportunity for us to be able to communicate, but it's also a way for us to garner our power, right? If we all move and we say we are intentionally going to be in Black spaces, well, that means that more money is going to naturally come to where we are, because the number one consumer is Black people. So whether you're talking about advertising dollars, this is where they are going to want to be. And so now you're talking about contributing to our overall economic ecosystem, which is how we need to be thinking about things. It's like, how do we make sure that Black people are going to be okay in this anti, quote unquote, DEI world that we live in, where they don't want to celebrate our diversity. They just want to steal our diversity and co-opt it and do their own thing. How do we make the dollars come to us so that we are not consistently talking about the wealth gap and explaining that the disparity is so great? How do we do our part to make sure that we are still in this game? And frankly, Black people have always figured out a way to survive. This is yet another kind of way of showing our creativity, our ingenuity, and our survival tactics. So, I mean, I think we just have to be very intentional.
I wanna offer this to you and anybody that needs a voice. I think that I've said this before. A lot of times, like, campaigning and getting messaging out has moved digital. And I think the tool to reach voters through social media is being underutilized, especially probably by the Democratic Party, in ways that I feel like the other side is doing so very, very effectively. What do you think about using social media as a way to campaign, message, reach people in mass? We have these great audio rooms on Fanbase that are available that you don't even have to download the app. You can actually just have an audio town hall, and anybody that has the link could listen. So hundreds of thousands of people could listen to a conversation, to mobilize voters, register to vote, all these things. How important is using technology in this era to mobilize voters in action?
I mean, it's paramount, right? You know, when I think about technology and campaigns, or when I just think about, you know, technology as a whole, there was a time in which we got around because of horse and buggy, right? And then we advanced a little bit, and we put a little carriage onto their horse and buggy, right? Like, and then we advanced a little bit more, and we found an engine to put up in there, right? And so we continue to make advancements in general, and we change our mode of transportation. But how we communicate, especially in these campaigns, it has to change. And we've seen the shifts. And so do I believe in kind of the fundamentals of campaigning? I do. But you've got to make sure that you layer in and recognize that this is just the way that you get to certain people. There used to be a time when we had telegraphs, right? And that was a way of communicating. And we don't use telegraphs anymore. And then, you know, do we use our landlines as much as we used to? Not quite, but some people still got them, right? So you still need to make sure you got your landline and you're doing your robocalls. But you also need to make sure that you're using cell phones and text messaging people, right? But then you also need to make sure that you're not only doing what we call broadcast TV, but now people do cable TV. They also do streaming, as well as it's very important to make sure that a portion of your communications is just through social media. And I love the fact that, like, you can do your teletown hall and broadcast it anywhere, and we're in the shutdown. So this is on my official side, right? But I think it's always important to make sure that I'm communicating with my constituents. And one of the things that I told my team is that I didn't just want to do the teletown hall anymore where we just jump on the phones, but I was like, we need to simulcast this all out online to all the platforms that people prefer. And so we are going to try to add that component to it as well, so that it's, yes, I'm on the phone. So for my OGs that are like, I just want to call in and listen, they can do that. But for people that are saying, I'm not getting on the phone and listening, but I will pull up, my app and I'll listen to a live. So if you really want to stay on top, if you want to stay in office, you would be wise to stay with the curve, if not ahead of the curve, when it comes to technological communications.
And lastly, the First Amendment we spoke briefly is being challenged. I know that on over here we don't really, I'm not gonna say really, we don't want to censor individuals. We want people to have the freedom to speak and use their voice to get their message, especially this attack on Black culture and Black people. How do you think we should move in this way of communicating and utilizing our voice to express what's going on and fight in ways that we can, just using our voices online to spread awareness?
Yeah, it is so important. I mean, the only thing that's been revealed to me is that we have failed. We have failed to adequately and accurately educate people on what it is to be patriotic, what it is to be American, what it is to be a country that has a constitution, and what it is the Constitution stands for. The fact that we debate some of these things is absolutely astounding, because I'm like, these are basics. But when you have people that are at the very top and they are acting as if there is an argument to be made, then no wonder that other people are struggling. And so our First Amendment, our constitutional rights are in distress right now. And it's not just the First Amendment. But I mean, I would imagine that if it's first, it was kind of important, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is where you're going to get your freedom of speech, your freedom of assembly. And so we've seen them trying to go after freedom of assembly so much with the protests, right? They've tried to crack down on protests in general. That is what assembly looks like. We've seen them going after freedom of press, which is also the First Amendment. And this is where we see all the shakedowns from Trump. Trump has finally been able to get him some coins by suing everybody that says something that he does not like, and then just getting a payout. I mean, the corruption is astounding. And I'm sorry, but like, if y'all would have elected the Black woman, at a very minimum, y'all already know she wasn't even gonna try this stuff, because Black people already know we be under the damn jail. So like, yes, like, but this is what happens when you got privilege. For those that didn't know what it looked like, just look at the White House, the 34 count convicted felon who's not a Black man. To be clear, because like, never would have happened. But nevertheless, right? So we see the attacks on freedom of press, and then the freedom of speech, right? We see the students. I just got a great update from a young lady that is down in Texas. I won't say her name, but she had a situation after this Charlie Kirk stuff, right? Because they forgot what freedom of speech looked like when it came to, even just repeating his own words. I mean, repeating his words was like controversial. I'm like, was it controversial when he said it? Because being Black,
right,
it felt controversial when he said half the stuff, but whatever. So they went after so many of these students that it seemed like, at least the images that I saw, they were Black students. And, it's like, say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel about how somebody feels about the ultimate result of what happened with Charlie Kirk or whatever. But like, this country stands for freedom of speech. So I get lots of hate mail all the time. And it is what it is. Like, I mean, they are free to say crazy stuff. I think that where we have fallen, though, is that every constitutional right has limits, right? Like, it's a balancing test. And so we have always, taught people that in law school, they say you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Even though you've got freedom of speech, that has the potential to directly cause harm to people, because if people start running and trampling over people, that's next level. So you wouldn't be protected in that way. You would end up catching a case, right? Similar to the case that the president caught for his incitement. It resulted in people being harmed. It resulted in damage to our Capitol. He really should have been jailed for that as well. But now it's like, if you just say, do like Jimmy Kimmel and play a tape of him talking about his, they asked him about his friend, and instead he wanted to talk about this bootleg ballroom. Feel away, but like, it's free speech. And frankly, it was just your words. So what we have seen is that they want to say the most ridiculous things. I had somebody that literally sent something that crossed the line to me yesterday. So Capitol Police gonna need to pay him a visit, because it did go into that realm of like criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, he'll hopefully get a visit as soon as we track down the IP address and all that good stuff.
Wow.
And so some people just gonna have to find out in real time what is really free speech. But I just want to say thank you to the American people, the people that are pushing back, the people that decide that they're going to show up for jury duty, the people that are rejecting these ridiculous cases when they come to grand jury, the people that ultimately will reject some of these ridiculous cases once they end up being tried. It is insane what we are experiencing, but I know we can make it out, because we are standing on the right side of history. And so I want people to be bolder in exercising their freedom of speech and making sure that they are as critical as they feel like they need to be of this administration. Because if they can silence you, then they win. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. They are trying to threaten people into silence. And therefore, when there is no opposition, they are able to destroy us. And I refuse to be destroyed. And I know all of you that are watching right now refuse to be destroyed as well. So it's so important that you continue to use your constitutional rights and raise your voices.
Wow. Well, thank you. We are going to be here for you in any messaging that you need to get out. Fanbase is a platform. Fanbase is a platform for everybody. Excuse me, hold on. Fanbase is a platform for anybody that wants to exercise their right to free speech. And I thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate, again, what you're doing, and thank you for taking this time. I know you're a busy woman, so I appreciate you stopping through and blessing us with your presence this evening. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Good to see you.
All right. Talk to you later.